Master's in Intellectual Property program at the KNUST Law Faculty. And she has also taught family law and practice at Ghana School of Law, Accra Main Campus. Ladies and gentlemen, with applaudits, a resounding one, please let her feel your presence. Though it's virtual, let her feel your presence. Let her feel your energy. Let's acknowledge and welcome her ladyship, Justice Eudora Christiana Dadson. We are so happy to have you, ma'am. Your accolades are so inspiring. Oh my God.
Thank you for the kind introduction.
You're welcome. Let's move to the next guest. Another interesting profile. Please, my fellow young people, please let's learn from them. It looks like our older people, they are not playing with us. All right, so the next person is Akosua Boaduwaa, who is a guidance and counseling officer at the GES office in the Ashanti region. She is a dynamic woman in her early 40s with an impressive educational background and diverse professional experience, which includes education, banking, trade transaction, marketing, law, reporting, and among others. Akosua holds a first degree in psychology and a master's degree in guidance and counseling, and another master's degree in human resource development. Currently, she is passionately pursuing her PhD research. People, let's clap for this because you realize that they are not playing your 2 masters PhD. Yo, that's interesting. Akosua is currently a guidance and counseling officer at the Regional Education Office, Kommunity. She has empowered several young people to plan their career educational goals. With a passion for education, Akosua spent 11 years as an English teacher, practicing her skills in the classroom. Her dedication to nurturing young minds led her to take on the role of house mistress and also as an assistant school counselor in a senior high school, which provided guidance and support to students both academically and personally. She didn't start now, long time. Please, let's give it up for her. Let's keep going. Her career took an intriguing turn when she served as a juror in one of the country's high courts for almost 3 years, gaining unique insights into the legal system and contributing her expertise to important decisions. Prior to her role in the High Court, she completed her national service at Barclays Bank, where she impressed with her skills and work ethic, leading to a contract position as a trade sales assistant. Later, she transitioned to Montram Ghana Limited, bringing her diverse experiences and knowledge to new challenges and opportunities. Akosua has empowered several young people to strategically plan their lives. With her blend of educational qualifications, teaching experiences, legal insights, and corporate background, Akosua stands out as a multifaceted professional with a wealth of expertise to offer in various fields. Ladies and gentlemen, another beautiful brain. Let's give it up for Madame Akosua Boaduwaa Senyah. You are welcome. Please, can we hear your lovely voice? You are welcome. You are welcome. We appreciate you this evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too. It's so great to have you on board. Since we are talking about gender, we have to represent the other gender. I mean, we can't have all females. It won't be fair. Gender equity, yes, we champion that. So the next panelist is a gentleman who is the co-founder and executive director of the youth community. He is Francis Oko Armah. He is a youth development practitioner with over 10 years experience in sexual and reproductive health and rights sexual and reproductive health and rights programming, and advocacy with interests in meaningful youth engagement, gender and communication within the context of international development. Ladies and gentlemen, not a man of many words, but action. Mr. Francis Oko Armah, let's give it up for him, sir. Sir, you are welcome. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for what you've been doing for the youth. Please, can we hear the masculine voice?
Thank you. I have been working all this, so I'm already tired, but you have my time and my energy and everything, so thank you.
Most definitely, don't worry. Please, let's pump him up. He needs the energy. Pump him up, pump him up, pump him up. Yay. You're welcome, son.
Thank you.
The last panelist, but not the least, is someone probably you have seen on your screen. But then, let me introduce her. So, Miss Kata is a media personality and a gender advocate, and she is the creator of Heal and Chill Foundation and the documentary podcast series 16 Days, 16 Voices. Through her work on screen and behind the mic, she amplifies conversations on women's rights, well-being, and social justice, using storytelling as a tool for healing, awareness, and change. Ladies and gentlemen, you have on your screen Chris Kata.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. It looks like our panelists are ready for us. My dear audience, are you ready? Let us see your shouting. Please let me feel you. Give me your reactions. Let me feel you. Yes. It's great to have you all on board. Our dear panelists, we are glad to have you all on board. It's great to also learn from you this evening. I would like to know if we are all ready and we are all willing to, just jump into the conversation. Please, my dear panelists, are you ready for the conversations we are about to have?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
All right. So please, when I pose the question, based on the order I did the introduction, you can kindly give your response in that order. So Her Ladyship would go first, then Madam Akosua would go first, then Sir Francis would follow, then Chris Kata would follow next. If you don't have anything to say or any comments to pass based on the particular question posed, you're okay to pass, and then we would have the order follow, like in that order. Yeah. So thank you so much. So I would like to start with my very first question. Probably you have to take a trip down memory lane and consider what inspired you to get involved in supporting survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, and what still keeps you motivated to do it. Your motivation for supporting survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, and what still keeps you motivated to do this. Her Ladyship, I think you are ready for us. Please, you can go.
Yes, so good evening to all of you.
Good evening.
In 2000, when I was called to the bar, I was posted to the Ashanti region for my national service. And when I got to Kumasi, I had to do the national service at the Legal Aid Board. And also, I started volunteering at FIDA. So it was at FIDA that I got introduced to issues relating to gender, women, violence, particularly the cycle of violence. And there were some of the issues I had to take to court. There were some in pursuing it. The evidence wasn't collected well in time, particularly, with the sexual-based violence. Within the first 48 hours, it's very crucial to get the information so that the appropriate medical reports can be generated to assist with evidence in court. That wasn't in some of the cases. By the time it got to us, it had been tempered with it. But one incident stayed with me. there was an issue at somewhere in the Bruahafo region. I think it's Techiman or something, I don't remember. And the 12 or 13-year-old girl had been defiled by a public officer. Justice was not, it appeared that the wheels of justice was grinding slowly in the area. So the issue was referred to me because I was doing a lot of advocacy in that area. So she came and I had to go and get an opinion from the Attorney General's department at that time. Unfortunately, as I said, the medical evidence could not support the prosecution. 2 weeks after I met the girl, I was with the girl in my office. I mean, she had been traumatized and she had been health-wise, her health wasn't in a very good shape. I was told that she had died. For me, that was the pivotal point. So when it came to issues relating to gender, it came violence against women and the rest, I was taking it up, sometimes pro bono in the courts and pursuing it from all dimensions. I did it up to the time I was elevated to the High Court bench, and I'm still passionate about those issues.
Thank you very much. That's so scary and very traumatizing. Madam Akosua, please, what has been your motivation all through to having an interest in supporting survivors, and what still keeps you motivated?
Okay,
sorry.
so I think during an internship I had at Sepel some years back, I think back then I was in second year in the university. That was around 2005. Yes, 2005. I had an internship at Sepel, and we used to go to these mining towns to just go and report on the situations over there. So during one of our trips, I think we went to, anytime we go to a town, we go to the palace before we interact with the members in the society. So we went to the palace and we were just coming out of the palace, and I saw a teenager somewhere. She was just sitting there lonely. And I am always drawn to people who would want to just isolate themselves and go and sit somewhere. I just want to sometimes engage them in a conversation, because these people, sometimes they may be going through things that they don't have any listening ear to listen to their stories. So I approached her, and whilst we were conversing, she started crying. I asked why she wasn't in school, because at that time she was supposed to be in school. And she when she was talking to me, she just wanted to whisper. It was as if she was whispering to me. She didn't want to voice out what she was really going through. So I asked her why. And she said somebody slept with her. She reported the incident to her parents, and her parents said, "Oh, you're a bad girl. It was your fault." Like so many issues. And that she just want to lie against that man. That man was an influential person in that town. So it was as if, oh, like this girl is just a liar. She doesn't want to speak the truth. She's just making up stories. From everyone, even school, she doesn't want to go to school. And again, when I became a house mistress, students from all over Ghana would want to come to a school, a particular school, like if it's a grade A school. And when they come, when you open your doors to them, the kind of conversations that they can have with you, you realize that most of them have been sexually abused, and they have not been given the platform to talk about it. Those that they were bold to talk about, as they were even beaten because they think that, oh, they are lying or they are just making up stories. So I decided to take it upon myself to sometimes pursue some of these things. So basically, that's how my inspiration came about. I feel like people do not have the voice to talk about it. So I have done a lot of referrals to these law firms and others. I have done referrals to police stations to take up some issues that sometimes I had to invite some parents to my office to talk to them about certain issues that their wards were going through, and it has already been reported to the parents, but they don't believe it. So basically, that's how it started.
Wow, that's very heartbreaking. I mean, parents being the most trusted, individual that any child would have, and if the parents don't believe, it really becomes a traumatizing experience for their kids. So sorry to hear about that. So, Francis, please, can you share what has been your motivation?
Okay. So for me, my inspiration came from my parents. And because my father was very present in our lives, and I don't have sisters. And being a first child, you are automatically deputy parent. And my dad was like my mom's biggest cheerleader. She saw things my mom could do before my mom would even think about it. But as you will know of any relationship, there will be issues. So this household that I see them very affectionate and all of that, I will see them fighting, and sometimes it became physical. I saw a lot of these things, and you see, I saw my mom take a lot of physically things that could harm someone physically, hit my dad, and all of that. And sometimes my dad will also try and do something back because it looks like the pain that my mom is inflicting on him, he's also like he also needs to defend himself. As a child, when you see things but you don't have the right words to describe until like you're either a teenager or an adult to really grasp the full concept of what like was happening. And so seeing them engage in different forms of physical abuse. I also experienced there was a bit of mental play here and there. And I was curious and smart. I was a child that questioned everything. Why is there a full stop here? Why is the line not crossed? All of those things. And so as I tried to make sense of my parents' relationship, it did not make sense why a lot of fights will be physical and all of that. And because I do not have sisters, I learned very fast to love my cousins around who were female. And I wouldn't want, like, I just cherished them, even in my adult years. I wouldn't want that to happen or anything to happen to them. But more importantly, I was curious to understand what is going on with my dad and what is going on with my mom, to the point that two people who love each other and are in a marriage with children, they cannot sit down and talk. So yes, I've experienced the fight. I have seen it. The impact is not good. But as a child, I was really curious. And at the time, how dare I how do I go and even ask that? Why are you people fighting? Can't you talk? I'll probably be smacked or something. So it was that curiosity that pushed me to, dig deep and understand what happens to both men and women, whether being the victims or the one inflicting pain on others, and then how we can, how do I say it? How we can heal from that and rethink some of these um, experiences so we can develop better programs and responses to reflect on a better society. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very personal. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And I hope you are still healing your inner child if you've not fully healed. Talking
Oh, we will
about
get there. We will get there.
was definitely talking about healing. Chris, what has been your motivation?
Hi everyone. Oko, I love your voice. I always speak to you on the phone, but I didn't know it was this deep and sexy. I love it. I love it. Anyway, let's get straight into it. So basically, for me, how do I say this without triggering everybody? Or I am a survivor of, child, sexual abuse. So, and it kind of affected me in ways I didn't understand until I was an adult, you understand? And I started to reflect on my life and, ask myself certain questions. Why do I behave a certain way? Why do I do things a certain way? Why is it that I don't feel some sort of emotions or my emotions are just, upside down most of the times compared to other people? Then I had to, I didn't go for therapy, but I just had to sit down and dissect everything about my life. And I realized, okay, you know what? I think it's this. And I started reading. So most of the things I know about, SGBV, it's basically self-taught because I love to read. I love to learn. So I read a lot. When I mean a lot, a lot. So, and after that, I, kind of like put out a communique on my birthday. That was some years ago. I was like, you know what, guys, this is what I have gone through. I want to help women or people who have gone through the same thing find healing. So why don't we have like a group therapy? So it was on the day of the group therapy, I realized that there are a lot of people that are dying in silence, just as I was dying in silence. But I didn't even realize I was dying in silence because I'm one of those people that could be probably depressed and I'll just be smiling and you will never know that there's something wrong with this person. So I was just, living life without knowing that, there are deeper problems that I needed to sort out. So it was at that stage of group therapy that I organized on my birthday. And that's when I realized that, look, we are a lot. A lot of people are going through the same. A lot of people have gone through the same and even worse. And the thing is, if you do not speak out, you would never know. So that's how I realized that there's sort of like power in speaking out because speaking out sort of had like a ripple effect. It gives strength to the next person. It gives hope to the next person. It inspires the next person. And that's when I realized that, you know what? This is not just one of those birthday things you do. Why don't I, sort of like focus on this? Why don't I try to help, And I'm sorry, I have to be a bit spiritual or religious. So I started feeling like, okay, this is what God wants me to do, because I was dreaming about it. I was praying to God about it. I was always reminded about it in my sleep, in my dream. It wakes me up. And that's how I just got into it. I know it's not easy. It's not easy. There's a lot of learning and there's a lot of healing, but yeah, this is how I got into it and we are here. And I just believe in if I don't have the resource, I'll probably use my voice and my platform because I have a voice and a platform. So this is what I'm using for now.
We all have voices and we all have platforms. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing that. I don't know, but my heart keeps cringing at every person's, answer. It's quite sad the world we live in. Coming back to your ladyship, and then it follows. So I would like to know what is the one thing that you wish people understood better about healing from sexual violence and gender-based violence? What's the one thing you wish people understood, the community understood, parents understood, even victims themselves, they understood about healing from sexual and gender-based violence? Yes, your ladyship.
Okay, I would give a scenario which also happened. There was an outreach in a school, and during the discussion that was having with these were students at the JHS level, some of them could not come up to say what they wanted to say. So when I was done, then one of them approached me with one of the teachers. And her issue was that she was being given away for marriage. And the teacher said something that they complain. Now, after the complaint, you can escalate it to the security services or what have you, because child marriage is an offense under our laws. But the child will be going back to the same house, the same parents who are colluding to give her out. Why am I saying this? Do we create safe spaces for these victims of gender-based violence? Do our actions directly or indirectly re-traumatize them? Because for them to heal from the gender-based violence or sexual violence, there must be holistic supports. They must have a safe environment. Do we have enough safe homes for victims of sexual abuse? I know of one or two private safe homes, but as to an institutional and government-based safe homes and that policy, I don't think I've heard of much within the system. So people, sometimes those around do not appreciate or recognize the impact of whatever the person has gone through on that person. So I would wish that when there was this Me Too movement which came up in America, someone, oh, but why are you after so many years that it's now that you are coming out to say it? They don't seem to appreciate why they will come out. But it's all because it's also part of the healing process. There was a woman, she's unemployed. Her children were yacked away from her, given to someone who was also not taking very good care of their children. You would want this person to reconnect with their children. How do you go about it? It means that that person must be counseled, that person must be supported. There must be some form of economic activity for her to engage in, to put her in a much better state in order to take care of those children when eventually she's reunited with them. So the whole thing is multifaceted when violence and the sexual-based violence occurs. Do we even know that within 24 hours, the person mustn't wash down 24 hours, the evidence must be taken under a situation where it can be preserved and so that the evidence in the courtroom can speak for itself. You have instances where if a person is defiled or abused, raped, it will be said that, oh, but you're dressing. And my question is that a 4-year-old girl or a 4-year-old boy who has been defiled or raped, did the person also contribute something to the state in which he or she finds herself? The comments we pass ends up re-traumatizing the victims, and we need to be careful about that.
Thank you so much. We have to create safe spaces and we have to be accommodative. Thank you so much, Her Ladyship. Auntie Akosua, what do you have to say about what you wish we understood about healing in this instance?
Okay, so I think that people should understand the fact that if somebody who has been abused is bold enough to speak out, we should at least believe them. Because the moment we disbelieve what they say, it makes them feel guilty. Like it makes the shame too broad for them. I think Her Ladyship asked a rhetorical question. What will make a 4-year-old attractive for you to abuse that 4-year-old? There was an incident whereby a teacher had a 9-month baby and also had a 3-year-old son work, and her 3 years told her that, Mommy, this is what the house help did to this is what the house help did to the house help removed baby's diaper mouth. Immediately told her that. Then she started beating her son. That why should you say that? Auntie will never do that. Auntie will not take baby's pee and put it in her mouth. So don't lie. Auntie didn't do that. So when she came back to school the following day, she came to the staff room and she was having a chat with her colleagues. And she narrated the issue to her colleagues. When she narrated, so you should take your time and investigate if something really happened. So she said, okay, what she would do is when she was coming back to school the following day, she would not lock her back door. There's a back door that leads to her kitchen that she can use to enter the house. So she wouldn't lock it. She would come to school like that and leave it open. But she wouldn't let her house help know that she hasn't locked it. So during break time, she sneaked into her home. And immediately she got into her home. When she peeped through the window, she realized that the house help was doing it. So she caught her in the act that she had removed the little boy's diaper and she had put his pee in her mouth. So just imagine it. If this 3-year-old boy grows up, will he ever even report an abuse case to anyone? Because his own mother did not even believe him. So if his own mother doesn't believe him, will strangers believe him? So I want people to know that the fact that they are bold, the abused persons are bold enough to speak out, it means that we should give them a listening ear and pursue the case. We shouldn't just throw them out up or just blame them for they being the reason why they were abused. No one would want to wish that he or she is being abused. So if the act really happens, I just plead with people that, one, give the person a listening ear. Believe the person. Pursue the case. If when you pursue the case, that is when you realize that if the person is lying or not. But if you don't pursue the case and you just say, oh, you are lying, what will make somebody abuse you? What do you have that somebody will abuse you? You don't even have a nice body. What will make you attractive to men to come and abuse you? If you continue saying that, then we will keep them shut and they will be suffering within themselves. They will have the and other things. So I just hope and pray that if we want them to heal, then we need to believe them and help them pursue the case before maybe.
Thank you so much, Auntie Akosua. I just don't know how to feel about what I just heard. But then, Francis, what do you have to say about what you wish people understood better about healing?
Okay, thank you very much. So one thing I wish people understood better is that healing is not a finite destination. It's a non-linear process of integration and not the fact that you are erasing what happened. I will explain a bit further. Healing is not a cure from what has happened. It's important that we understand that because in our society, especially in the Ghanaian context, we treat healing like a physical injury with a predictable recovery time. And so over a period of time, we expect a survivor to get through the initial trauma and find closure, and then all of a sudden be fixed or cured, allowing them to return to how they used to be. And it's this amount setting form of pressure on them, which is very dangerous because healing involves 2 steps forward and probably 3 steps back. There are good days, and there are also triggers that may make a survivor feel like they are starting all over again. It is important to note that this is okay. Depending on the atmosphere that happened, or the circumstances, the condition under which somebody was abused, something like somebody's cologne would trigger the person. Somebody like meeting someone who looked like or has dressed like somebody, anything could trigger somebody. So it is important to know that healing is not people who go through any form of abuse. It's not that because they are healing, after a certain time, they should stop talking about it or they should start behaving a certain way. So it's important that we need to, it's important for us to normalize that this is not a sign of failure, but it's simply a part of the journey. If the person takes 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, it's not that they have failed, but they are living through the experiences, and it's part of the journey. Now, it's also important to know that it is integration and not eraser, like you are erasing the person's experience or what had happened. This shows that it tells us that healing does not mean forgetting what happened. It means that the survivor learns how to carry the memory of the trauma without crashing their future. And so it's more about reclaiming your agency and power. And before I move to my next point, which I'll talk about the role of the community, I'll share a personal example. I am in my early 30s. I started work very early as a teenager because I was curious about everything. But not until recently that I had a health scare, that I was officially diagnosed with a mental health condition that I have been living with my entire life. It was when the diagnosis came, I have been reading around. I read everything. But I know medical doctors, or all doctors in general have cautioned everyone not to, one, Google our symptoms or self-diagnose. So as much as I read everything, books, I watch YouTube videos, everything, I did not Google my symptoms or self-diagnose. I wanted to go to the hospital and, how do I say it? And then get their feedback. And all the times I've been admitted to the hospital back and forth, I get feedback, but not the official diagnosis. So I know they were treating me for something. I know I have something, but as to what exactly I have, I didn't know. Now, because I read around, I was suspecting a particular thing. So the day the doctor told me that this is what you have, and it was the same thing I suspected, I felt very relieved. So, because everything correlates to how I process trauma, how I react, I am identifying my triggers, working in a less stressful environment, all of the things that I had read. So now, as a survivor, I now know what will trigger me, how less stressful I should be. If I'm getting stressed, when to take a break, when not to take a break. And where I felt relieved again was the fact that I have lived through experiences with my own mother, and she's my mother. I love her. We talk about this all the time. It's been our own journey as well. As a child, she could look at my face and tell me, if you don't do this, I will kill you, like in my finger, like we kill lice. Those of you who have been around for quite a while, you know that those days, lice enter into people's hair. My mom will tell me that if I don't do something that she wants me to do, she will kill me on her fingertips, just like they kill lice. Now, imagine a child. I will go to bed scared to death because of these things. And as an adult, in fact, it has affected me throughout life. Things like this have affected me throughout life, to the point that I am only getting to have my official diagnosis now. But the good news is, because I know, it's the start of my healing journey now. And I joined a book club that we read about some therapy book, and then we talk about our relationships, how we engage with people. I'm going to see a psychologist, and there is a doctor taking care of me and all of that. So it's important for us to know that there is no particular time that, when women come out and they speak, you are still talking about this issue, get over it, and then all of a sudden we expect women or people who have gone through or survived through something and are healing to get over it. That is not what we want. Now, it is important because the community role is that when we pressure survivors to get over it, when we pressure them to get over it quickly, we are unintentionally asking them to stay silent and suffer alone. And that is not the message we want to send out there. Our role is that our role as allies or as a community is not to ask, are you healed yet? When will you get over it? But to provide consistent, non-judgmental support every single day so that we allow their healing timeline to be entirely of their own. Because sometimes you will learn the hard way that if a child, say 12 years, 30 years, is defiled, the child may be going through their own trauma and everything. But for a parent of such a child who cares, they will also be going through associated trauma because it's their child that is going through this. So when we are providing services, you don't only provide service to the child, but also provide services to the parents as well and any other person around them that are relating with the person who has gone through or who has survived the abuse. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis, talking about healing like that. Please, everybody in their own pace. You don't expect people to heal based on your timing. Healing is not erasure. I liked that. It's not erasure, but it is integration. Thank you so much. Chris, what do you have to say about
Okay, so basically, I would have said what Francis said, but just to add to that, people need to realize that healing isn't always pretty. It can actually be very rude and very loud, and people are allowed to feel that way, and that's just because we are all different people. It's not a journey of, always when you go to the therapist say, oh, you should journal, you should listen to soft music. Sometimes it's anger, it's boundaries, it sounds very harsh. And it's actually a silence that feels cold sometimes, or a reaction that people will term as rude. And that is because people also express pain differently. When we talk about pain, some people just cry quietly and some just withdraw and others explode and snap. And that's just because of what they've gone through. And also, it might feel very uncomfortable to other people, especially when someone that has been silenced for a long time is trying to reclaim their voice. It might seem different. It might seem like, a behavior that, oh, this person is now this or that. But sometimes you just need to respect them at that moment. You just have to respect their boundaries because these people haven't had boundaries in a long time. That is why they went through what they went through. And I'm a perfect example of that. I'm very loud. I'm very rude. I'm what people call bitter feminist. I don't care. If you don't call me bitter feminist, I don't feel like I'm doing something right. In fact, I must be bitter. You must feel the bitterness. Then I'm happy, yeah, that I'm doing something right. Do you understand? So there are few people like that, and that is just how we are reclaiming our voices. And also that is also sometimes a trauma response when we probably have some PTSD, or maybe I see something happen to somebody else and I realize that, oh shit, I've been through this. Sorry for using that word. Oh, I've been through this. And look, wow, I wouldn't want it to happen again. And I could just snap. I could just become angry. I could just raise my voice. I could be very, very blunt. And that is also a way of knowing that I'm helping this person, and helping this person means that I'm also healing because I don't want the same thing to happen to the person again. So yeah, healing loudly and rudely is a thing. It doesn't make someone bad. It just makes them human, because I know in our minds healing has been, designed in our head, especially when you go to therapists and to a therapist and psychologist. The thought of it is like, oh, you need to, listen to music, go for a walk, do this, No, sometimes it's rude, it's harsh, and it's just because of what the person have gone through. And we also need to realize that people are friends. Yeah, basically that's it.
thank you. We are different. Sometimes healing may be beating a tree, beating your anger out. Thank you so much. This has been very insightful. All right. So my next question. What are some of the ways we think society has unintentionally, and if I would add, intentionally traumatized and re-traumatized survivors? And how can we change that? What role is society playing in all of this? Her ladyship. Hello?
Well, when it comes to re-traumatization, when you don't, when the person is communicating about what has happened, like the example the madam gave about the young child who was saying that the house help or something was doing something to the baby. You see, when the person says it, you don't believe, express disbelief, they recoil. Because I've had an encounter where I was training a group of people about gender-based violence, sexual-based violence, and some few other topics. So during the break, then a couple of them approached me and they told me that, oh, they had been subjected to some sexual-based violence. And I asked, so did you report? They said no, they didn't go and report because their fear is that if they go and make the report, the first question is, what were you doing with that person at that place? Or they may tend to trivialize it. If it goes through the legal process, even under cross-examination, the sort of questions you would be asked, very invasive, sometimes a bit harassing. We tend to re-traumatize the persons. So I asked them, they said, oh, they didn't report. They don't intend to report, but they were just sharing with me. And the statistics has it that 1 out of every 3 women have experienced some form of gender-based violence in their lifestyle. How many of them are reported? How many of them are successfully prosecuted for the perpetrators to be incarcerated? So by our actions, the sort of questions, well, what were you doing at that place? Why were you wearing that dress? We tend to re-traumatize them, not only in terms of sexual violence, gender-based violence, or any traumatic experience that people go through.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Auntie Akosua, please, what do you have to say?
Yes, so I think that some of the ways that society unintentionally re-traumatize survivors, I think sometimes I wouldn't stop talking about the blaming aspects. They will blame you. It's your fault. I mean, the way you dress, the way even you carry yourself, the way you make your gestures. That is why the person abused you. But then it shouldn't be like that. I mean, the way someone dresses or the way the person's body type is doesn't mean you should go and abuse that person. We need to let society know that it is not their fault. Victims, it is not the victim's fault. And that they should stop that blame game that they are doing. Honestly, when it happens like that, if I tell you something and you blame me, I wouldn't want to talk about it again because already you are being judgmental. And once you are being judgmental, who would even believe what I am saying? So it's better I keep it to myself. In another jurisdiction, we find ourselves here in this country that people tend to, even on digital spaces, people tend to say, oh, look at her. I'm sure it is a fault that she was raped. I'm sure it is a fault that somebody sexually harassed her. Look at the way she has dressed. Even look at her pictures on social media. The kind of pictures I take doesn't mean you should abuse me. So if we keep on blaming people and pointing fingers at people that the way they have dressed on social media, that is why people are abusing them and stuff, I don't think it's going to help. So we need to create that awareness for them to know that indeed they are really damaging the situation or harming people more than even what the perpetrators are doing. Because once I am abused, I should get a listening ear. I should get somebody to believe me. I should get somebody to look beyond my body type, to look beyond the way I dress, to look beyond the pictures I post on social media, to look beyond the friendship that I have with people that they took advantage of me, and be able to stand up for me and at least come to my aid, not to blame me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis.
All right, thank you very much. So the question was, I just
The
want to
role,
take a look.
that the role society plays in unintentionally re-traumatizing survivors.
And how we can change that.
Yes.
So one of the first things I'll mention is usually when these things happen and you are victims are burdened with proof and repetitive interrogation. So say it happened in school and then it's reported to a teacher or so. Whoever is reported to will then have to interrogate this person. Now, this process, as the person, let's say the guidance and counseling teacher, as this person, they will interrogate the survivor and try to find proof. If you are not lucky, the headmistress may come in or headmaster. You also do the same thing. If you are lucky enough to go to the police station, there will be another burden of proof and repetitive interrogation. If legal folks come in, you may have some form of interrogation again. This is just an example of, let's say, a child in school who has survived an event. So survivors being forced to recount, like anytime they are asked to narrate the story, it takes their mind back to the details of the trauma multiple times, to the police, the doctor, social workers, family members. If your family member, if you have a large family, cry even worse, because your auntie who has heard about the thing will come and they will come and ask you the same thing. When all of these things happen, we unintentionally force survivors to go through their experience, the trauma multiple times, and each repetition re-exposes them to the painful event. And so this turns the survivor into a perpetual narrator of their own pain, often leading to emotional exhaustion, detachment, and breakdown. One thing that I know, because a lot of the digital spaces that we are exposed to today paint a perfect picture of what happens offline. And the thing is victim blaming and the culture to shame others. I think the previous two speakers mentioned something on that, because society often defaults to questions that shift responsibility onto the survivor rather than the person who we should be held responsible. It's easy for society to start blaming the victim or the survivor. Now, this includes asking what you were wearing and all of that, as we mentioned prior. All of a sudden, society forgets that there are children as young as 9 months, 3 months, being defiled. We forget about it. And then we shift to what the person was wearing, how the person clothes were revealing. Are 2 years, 3 years infants or children, like what features do they even have to attract people to defile them? When it comes to this victim blaming, we automatically forget about this part as a society. So this invalidation reinforces the perpetrator's messages that the survivor is at fault, which is wrong. And it replaces the trauma of the violence with a deeper, more isolating trauma of societal rejection. And because of this victim shaming, a lot of people fear to even come out to tell their stories. One other point I would like to mention is the focus on legal outcomes over holistic healing. Now, institutions often treat survivor as evidence or a case file, emphasizing conviction as the sole measure of justice. When the legal system fails, which it often does, the survivor feels they have failed and their trauma is left undressed. However, I mean, every justice system, every country, there are challenges. So as we all are, somebody's joining, let me admit, okay. As we are all fighting for the legal aspects to be addressed, because it's not a 1 day, 2 day thing, it takes time. We are also focusing on the holistic healing of the survivor. That way, even as we are addressing the legal side and there are challenges, they may be also healing and finding ways to process their trauma and making progress. So they can even appreciate where there are roadblocks and work together with all the other service providers supporting them to keep pushing. Now, this enforces the idea that the survivors value, if we are able to do this, if you are able to focus on legal outcomes and holistic healing at the same time, it will help the survivor not tie, they will not be tied to the utility of their trauma in court. Rather, they will rather be, value their worth and need for personal and emotional recovery as much as progress is being made with the legal aspect. They will also value themselves and appreciate the journey more. So if we are looking at ways we can change that, we can adopt a survivor-centered response by implementing trauma-informed response protocols. For example, I know there are some of, I'll mention the ones that I remember offhand. For example, establish one-stop corners like sexual assault response teams or centers where the survivor only tells their story once, so that this single account is often confidential and shared among necessary legal, medical, or psychological teams. For example, I know Dadson has a center. I know the Ministry of Gender with UNFP has the Orange Support Center. I know UNICEF. There are quite a number of interventions with other development partners as well. And I worked at the Orange Support Center initially when, at the time it was launched, so I can share that experience. I don't know how things are now. And so when someone calls to report a case, whether it's themselves or their sibling or whatever, the system, you are able to document the case. So even if tomorrow I am not there and another person is there, the system is able to, like, when a person calls for follow-up, you are not going to ask the person the same question for them to relive their traumatic experience, because you have the cases documented. Then when it shifts from psychosocial maybe to legal or medical, we have it documented so that the person will not relive their experiences. The support center workers then communicate with the legal person or the medical or psychosocial support officers to help, as I remember it. So you see, doing that, it prevents the person from narrating their experience over and over again, where they will have to relive their traumatic experience. There are other points, but I'll just add that we should prioritize validation and we should believe survivors. We should also redefine justice as holistic and survivor. It should be centered on the survivor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very elaborate and insightful. Chris.
All right, so for me, I will talk about, people making excuses for abusers. Yeah, there are a lot of people in the society that make excuses for abusers. Oh, he was a good man, he cannot do that. Or maybe he was stressed, or it's the devil, know? All those excuses are really not necessary because you are actually undermining what the survivor went through. And another thing that we go through in Africa that I don't like is, forcing forgiveness. We have this culture of silence. Okay, let's keep it under the family. Let's keep it under the carpet. Oh, it's between the family. And then we now ask the person to forgive. Forgive who? How can I forgive someone that harmed me? How can I forgive someone that is going to make me live a life that won't be full again? Because obviously something has been altered in my life. So we need to stop that. We need to stop using the Bible. We need to stop using the Quran. We need to stop using anything that we believe in spiritually, to push down or force down the truth of the survivors. Mind you, I am Christian too. So I wouldn't want anybody to say, oh, but that's a very Christ-like thing to, that's a Christ-like thing to do. No, Christ did not ask us to, remain in toxicity, and forgiving the person does not mean the person should not go unpunished. People actually need to pay for their crimes. So we need to stop forcing people to forgive and forcing silence on people. And another thing, I work in the media. So this media sensationalism, it's a problem. The media usually undermines what survivors go through. They make survivors relieve their traumas by, when they're talking about their stories, they actually make fun of it, especially the local channels, the local radio stations. They make fun of rape like it's a joke. They make fun of, sexual abuse or sexual violence like it's a joke. And there are some newspapers that will show the face of the survivor or show the face of the victim and then not show the face of the person that perpetrated that act. So it's a problem when the media is writing or showing the story sometimes. And lastly, I would like to also talk about the institutional failures that we see. The police. I know some of us have worked with Dovsu or doing things with Dovsu. Let's be realistic. Some of these people that work in, the police are not trained to be, or to take up issues concerning gender-based violence. Holy Jesus Christ. This actually really hurts me because I've experienced it before where I was trying to help someone with their case. The way the police acted towards me was so bad that I had to say, oh, I work in the media. And everybody was like, oh, sorry. Oh, let's be serious. So the police need to find better ways to treat these issues. They need to train their officers better. I don't think everybody is equipped to take charge of certain issues, especially the ones that have to do with gender-based violence. And of course, our healthcare system can be very dismissive sometimes. We're talking about when you are raped or something, you do not have to take a shower until you get, a report. And sometimes you go to these healthcare institutions and they're very dismissive about the whole thing. I mean, someone just, got raped or something, and then you are very dismissive, acting funny, acting nonchalant towards the person. It's a very bad act. And lastly, I think the courts. Thank God, her ladyship is here. The court sometimes delays justice. So the million times the person has to go to court, the person is always reminded about what he or she went through. And I think that is very traumatizing. A case can go so long, we'll be wondering, why is this case going so long? I mean, the proof is there. We can see that this person is a bad person, but Charlie, the case just, oh no. I don't know how it works. I'm not a lawyer, but as someone that is looking from the outside, it's a bit worrying sometimes. Yeah, and this is my contribution.
Thank you so much, Chris. You seem to be in the spirit because my next question is actually geared towards her ladyship. But then please, I hope we are all enjoying the conversations. I hope we are learning something new and I hope we are getting better. Please, panelists, note that the next set of questions, I'll be mentioning names and be asking very specific questions, very, expert-related questions. So I'll be glad if you are all prepared, but then I'm starting with her ladyship. And then, continuing from where Chris and, her ladyship, a lot of people say that survivors don't get justice. What are some of the gaps in our legal system that, pushes this and reinforces the fact that survivors don't get justice?
Okay. When I started the conversation, I spoke about an incident which happened over a decade ago, and it was about the evidence. For particularly victims of sexual violence, there is a timeline to getting the evidence. And if that evidence is not obtained or the integrity of the evidence is compromised, it tends to affect the case or the progression of the case. There are times too that when the prosecutor have done their bit, then the witnesses develop cold feet, particularly with sexual abuse and defilement cases. We have a scenario where we have some people who have institutionalized the system of that is what we say in Trio. They are going to plead for an out-of-court settlement. When those interactions or interventions come in, then they would say that, oh, don't even show up in court. As a judge, I'm an impartial referee. And when it comes to criminal offenses, the standard of proof is proof beyond reasonable doubt. So the prosecution must adduce sufficient evidence in order to support the case for the defense to be called upon to answer to the charges. So there are technicalities. I don't want to go into it here, but there are a number of issues at play. But in my considered view, by far and large, the victims do get justice. That is my considered view. But as judges too, there are a few things that we can do to help the process. Practicing trauma-informed care in the course of the proceedings in our courtroom. And so we would have to treat all individuals who come before us with dignity and respect. And also we would have to adhere to, as I said, trauma-informed practices and procedure. If it's sexual-based violence, gender-based violence, and that cuts across the remit. It can be in the form of a domestic violence relationship, domestic relationship. It is to, if the requirement is that it is to be held in camera. So if it is in camera, then you, the judge, you create the enabling environment in your office so that proceedings can go on expeditiously in your office. You will have to avoid a situation where the other parties waiting in the courtroom even know the nature of the proceedings which is going on in your office. So, I mean, some of the judges, including myself, have undergone some training in that aspect. And I believe that if the scope of that training can be extended to my other colleagues, it would help a lot.
Thank you so much. That's very insightful. Auntie Akosua, based on your interaction with students and families and all of that, I would want you to share with us how best you think that families and society and communities can respond better when a survivor first shares their experience.
I think the first thing is for you to believe them and just let them know that it was not their fault. It was not their fault that they were abused. Then you need to find out if they are okay. It might be that maybe it happened immediately and just after the incident, they reported to you. So you need to find out if they are okay. Sometimes people are abused and they can't even talk. They keep on shivering and they can't even speak. But then once the person is able to talk to you, you need to know if the person is okay. That is important. And then again, you need to also let the person know that the person can trust in you you assure the person of confidentiality. You let the person know that the person can trust in you. When the person starts narrating the story to you or the incident to you, do not shout and be calling others to come and join in the conversation. Because if you do that, it will just keep them mute. They wouldn't want to talk about it again. Because sometimes it's because the society has created it in such a way that it's a bit to be telling people, oh, this person has abused me, that person has abused me. So once they tell you, immediately they are, narrating the incident to you. Let the person know that indeed the person, they can trust you, assure them of their confidentiality. Then, if they are in school, they will say, I want to talk to my mother, I want to talk to my father. And I will tell you for a fact that now in most schools, I think all the schools in Ghana, personnel, where we call them safe space focal persons. Apart from the counselors, these people are trained in such a way that they will be able to handle sexual harassment. Everyone about what is going on or what this person. And even the teachers themselves have undergone a sexual harassment training. So now we have been able to create that awareness. So if a student tells you about this, that is not the time for you to be going out to tell people. Once the person narrates the thing to you, you ask him or her what the person would want to do. I am saying him or her because sometimes we tend to focus more on the girls. Some boys are also being sexually harassed, and sometimes we keep quiet on that. But then it is happening, and we need to talk about that one too. So you ask them what they would want to do. If they tell you that they would want to report to the police, they want to go to the hospital, they want to do A, B, C, then you go with them. Sometimes you ask them and they tell you, I don't know what to do again. Can you please suggest something? Then you can also go ahead and suggest something. I wouldn't want a situation whereby we would want to force things on them, that let's go to the hospital, let's go and report. You get to the hospital, you get to the police station, and the victim wouldn't want to talk again. But if you allow the victim to tell you what he or she wants to do, it helps for us to know the truth and for us to pursue the case. Again, every family has its own culture or traditions. I will just entreat parents, especially, that there shouldn't be any case or there shouldn't be any situation whereby you tell your child that, please, I wouldn't want you to damage our family name. It's a family name that we have built over the years. I wouldn't want this incident to come and destroy our family reputation. So please don't talk about it. Let us just be quiet on it. No. If your child is bold enough to speak out to you and let you know that this is what I have been through, please pursue it, believe it. Under no circumstance should you try to cover up things just because you think it will tarnish your family name. Come on. I mean, you should think about the emotional trauma that the victim is going through. Then again, if an influential person abuses our family member, our children, or even our cousins, nephews, and other things, we should be able to stand up for them. We shouldn't say, sometimes, I always say that poverty is a disease. Sometimes when they are coming from a poor background and the person who, the abuser is from an influential family or is a big man somewhere, they wouldn't want to pursue it. They would just say, oh, no, this man, we can't compete with him. This man, no, we can't drag him to the courts. this person is an MP, this person is, this person is this person is that. So we cannot drag him to court or drag him to the police station or whatever. So please, let me just take you to the hospital and just tell them you fell down, or tell them you did this, tell them you did that, and let them give you some drugs and let's come home. As parents, please, we should not compromise on such issues because it is very, very important. If we don't handle these issues very well, it goes a long way to destroy their future. A lot of women are working maimed, a lot of women are depressed, a lot of women have even ended up in mental homes because people did not believe them, because they didn't get anyone to help them pursue these cases. So as family members, we should give a listening ear. We shouldn't amplify, like tell people about it. We shouldn't just be going around and spreading rumors about it. We should let them, the victims, know that we trust them. We'll be confidential about it. Ask them what they want to do. Don't impose on them, and help them to get justice so that at least they'll be at peace with them. Just like Chris said, we shouldn't force forgiveness on them. In their own time, when they think that they are healed enough, they would be able to forgive whoever abused them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm about to ask Francis his question, but then since we would be asking questions, we will take just 5 questions. So please, if you have a question, kindly put it in the comment section. And if you would like a specific panelist to answer, you can actually add that. So please, just 5 people. We can please put your questions in the comment section. All right, Sir Francis, we have actually established that so many survivors happen to struggle in so much shame and then so much silence. If there's a survivor here listening, like you are yourself, is there anything you would say to make them feel like it's easy to speak? Hello, Sir Francis. Oopsie.
Yes, I'm here. Can you
Hello.
please take that again?
Yes, I was saying that if there's a survivor listening to you right now, what is it that you're going to tell the person for them to feel that it is easy for them to speak up, therefore they should speak up?
Okay, sorry, I was speaking, but my mic was on mute.
Oh,
So, first of all, let's understand that before I even it's not easy for people to speak, and we've established a lot of the reasons why it is not easy. Because on top of my head, the victim blaming, culture of silence, and all of that. It's not that easy. So now that we've all agreed or understand that speaking up is not easy, it's important to look at easing that part to speaking, because we now know that it is not easy. So how do we ease it up for them? First of all, if there is a survivor here today struggling with shame and silence, we need to understand that your silence is not your fault. If there is anything as a survivor, you don't take anything at all. I just want you to know that you being silent is not your fault. Please know that the shame and silence you feel, they are not signs of your weakness. They are not intentional. They are the intentional corrosive weapons of the perpetrator and a dysfunctional society. Because you are not silent because you want to be silent, but you are silent because of fear. You are silent because of the dysfunctional society that we live in. You are silent because society would choose to blame you over shifting the responsibility on the perpetrator. So it is because of all of these 3 things working against you You chose silence. So yes, it is not your fault. I want survivors to also know that they are not alone. If you are here, you are not alone. Even though sometimes it feels that you are alone, you are not alone. Because the number of people, the allies, experts, and listeners, everybody is here because the silence of the survivor matters. There are allies, there are listeners, there are supporters, there are experts on this call. There are people sharing comments and that I am reading. We are all here joining this conversation because we have seen and acknowledged the fact that there are a lot of survivors who are silent, and it matters. The fact that you are silent, that silence matters to all of us. That's why we are here. So the moment you are ready to speak, there is a support structure somewhere waiting for you because you are not alone. Now, I want survivors to also know that the shame that they feel, it doesn't belong to them. It has been imposed on you, but the rightful owner, it belongs to the abuser. So the shame is a lie that has been imposed on the survivor. It is not yours to carry. Every burden of guilt, sometimes whispered doubt, depending on what you may be dealing with, you may even be hearing side comments on the side and all of those things. That is the sole responsibility of the person who violated you. Your job is simply to heal. So understand that the shame that you feel, it does not belong to you. It belongs to the abuser. The first word, and now in speaking, the first word, like the courage to even come out and say, the first things to even say in the beginning, they are the hardest. But speaking is not for we, the supporters and the listeners and the experts. It is for you and not for us. So you do not have to tell the full story when you decide to speak. You don't necessarily have to tell the full story. You should know that you are in control, and it's important that you know that you can start small, maybe one sentence to one trusted person. It can be a phone call, it can be a text, or an anonymous note. You do not have to recount the painful details unless you choose to, because we also understand that we do not want you to relive your trauma over and over. So when you decide to speak, and whichever way or form you decide to express yourself, know that you don't have to recount the painful details. Now, you speak or you say what you want to say to reclaim your voice. So every time you speak a piece of your truth, you chip away at the power or the control that trauma holds over you. I am able to share that I recently got my mental health diagnosis, and I'm able to know what my triggers are and everything. Because like I said, when the doctor told me my diagnosis, I felt relieved because of all the things I've been dealing with since childhood. And now finally I can breathe. I know what exactly is wrong with me, and I know how to live with it. So it is important that anytime you decide to tell your story or say something about it, you are speaking a piece of your truth, and that helps to chip away any power or control that trauma holds over you. So you are taking back the voice that was stolen. And I just want to end to say that the most courageous thing you will ever do is choose your healing over your fear. While it is important to acknowledge that when the times you are experiencing fear, it's normal, because the healing process, like we said earlier, is not straight, it's not linear. But when you choose, it's very courageous that you choose your healing over fear. And as supporters, as experts, as survivors who have gone through different forms of abuse and trauma, our job, like I said, we are here to listen. And more importantly, we are here to believe you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Choose your healing over your fear and your silence. Chris, please, I would like to know, as a survivor, congratulations for working through all that. But then as a survivor, from your perspective, what does a survivor-centered response truly look like from your perspective?
All right, from my perspective, survivor-centered response is all about caring about the survivor. Put yourself in the survivor's shoes before you speak, before you act. And this goes to all institutions. Every institution needs to be survivor-centric, from the society down to the institution. So when it comes to the society, the way we act, everything that we just talked about, what affects or what triggers people to relieve their trauma, don't do all those things. When we realize that, we have realized that all those things actually re-triggers the survivor and makes their healing slow, or makes the healing not even start at all. And then secondly, to the institutions, put yourself in the survivor's shoes. I like what Oko said about, Francis said about, what the UNFPA, their Orange, the response center, they actually listen to the survivor once. So they don't have to ask those questions a million times. So they don't have to keep interrogating you about the same old thing every day because it affects you in a certain way. And that is very survivor-centric. And also, at the end of the day, in as much as when justice is found for the survivor, or the survivor finally gets justice when we go to court or something like that. At the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves, what next? Okay, we've caught this person, put the perpetrator in prison, he's here and there. What next? What next should we do for this person? What next can we do for this person? That's when we think about therapy. That's when we think about, seeing a psychologist. We don't do that around us. We do not think of that. A lot of parents do not even think about that. Everybody's about, yes, let's catch a perpetrator. This. Let's go to the police. After that, what next? When the person is, what are you going to do for the survivor to start that healing journey? So we need to think about all these. And I think those are very survivor-centric ways we need to start thinking. We need to really shift our minds from just talking about it, catching the perpetrator, to also wearing the shoes of the survivor.
Thank you so much. Wearing the shoes of the survivor, which we may not fit in perfectly, but then once we decide to show some care and think about the holistic well-being of the survivor, we are going to, be able to help the survivors. Thank you so much. It's been very insightful. The audience have a few questions. So let me start with Caroline's question, which is directed to her ladyship. Her ladyship, Caroline is asking, is it advisable to settle gender-based violence using the alternative dispute resolution approach? She wants to know, is it advisable to settle gender-based violence issues using the alternative dispute resolution approach?
Caroline, an audience, thank you for the question. I would say that it depends on the specific gender-based violence issue. If we are taking a cue from the Domestic Violence Act 2007, Act 732, it will tell you that if the punishment or the sentence for that particular act of violence transcends beyond 2 years, then you cannot use ADR to resolve it. So I would say that if it is a non-aggravated assault, the court, even under the Domestic Violence Act, can promote reconciliation, and not just reconciliation in that context or just using ADR to resolve it. The court may ask the person, they can be bounded to be of good behavior, they can be referred for counseling and psychological, psychiatric help, or even ask the Department of Social Welfare to come in, appoint a probation officer to observe and report on the subsequent conduct of the accused to the court. But when it comes to sexual violence, rape, defilement, and what have you, no, you can't use ADR to resolve same. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so straight. Caroline, no, you can't. So Francis,
I
this
didn't
question is...
say no. I said depends on what we are talking about.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't get that. It depends on what you're talking about.
I said
Okay,
yes, it depends
okay.
on the specific gender-based violence issue. It depends on
Okay.
what it is. But
My bad.
violence
Please
is a
forgive me.
cycle. So they start on a low tone, then it graduates.
Mm.
So if you are using ADR to resolve that, you should be mindful of that.
All right. Thank you so much for the
Thank
question.
you.
So Francis, the next question is for you. It's from Miss Agboboku, and she's asking that you made mention of the fact that survivor experiences are recorded in some cases so you don't have to relive their experience. But then her concern is with the fact that what if the person doing the recording has a level of misandry or misogyny in them, and then they decide to alter the evidence, the recording, before proceeding to a practitioner? What then do we do? Or what then can be done?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, this is a very valid concern. I want to clarify that for all the workers at the Orange Support Center who are working now, and even at the time I was there, we all went through different forms of training. And before you even work in such a space, of course, you have to have the passion, a background. A lot of us have lived experiences, and the office has various courses on gender. There are some specific names to those courses that we go through, and we were trained by Ghana Police Service, the Gender Ministry, and UNFPA at the time. And I remember I have the memory of it clearly, where we even got certificates. So before you even join the center to work, there is a track record, and like your profile has to meet a certain standard. If not, you will not even work there in the first place. And the way the system is, you are only recording for evidence. Besides that, sometimes even the recording itself, now the work in itself can be very traumatic and draining, because you are providing, before you assign somebody who has called for help to a psychosocial support officer, or handle the police side or the legal side, you yourself, you are listening and documenting and all of that. So it gets to a point, it has a toll on you, because these are real human beings going through a lot. And so there is also the option to type things out. So we usually have to be fast and think quick on our feet as we are listening. There is an option where you type the information as well. Now, for those of us who did comprehension and summary back in DSS or SSS, that is when your skills in comprehension and summary matters. Because as much as the recording will be there, sometimes it is not always pleasant to go back and listen to the recording, because it can be draining to you. So you also have your type text, a summary of what has happened. And if you are the one who listened to the conversation, it helps you, the summary that you've typed in the case file helps you for like a quick reminder about what the case is about, like general information about the case. Okay, so there are several avenues that we use. The recording may be there, and the officers that you are assigned have all been trained. So if there is at a point where any biases or of misandry and all of these things, it's reported there, because we follow up and check on the survivors, how the case is going. Sometimes host some check-in with them to see how everything is doing. So if they should report that any officer, they didn't like the responses from some officers or some counsel, whatever it is, it will be documented and looked into. But it is not, just so that you know that all of us are trained, and we have a specific background, and more importantly, there are a lot of passionate people at that center who would work day and night to make sure that they support the people that I know some of my colleagues, even though they've moved on from the center, the office will still call them about certain cases and all. And sometimes we even grow attached. It's very difficult. It's not an easy job. Sometimes we grow, like we get attached to the cases because you want to see like every case see the light of day. And when for a lot of the cases that makes huge progresses, like huge progress, when the survivors are able to pass by the center, a couple of times they will ask the officer who is working on their case, they want to see you, and they are so appreciative. For me, I think that's the best part of the job. They are so appreciative, and like they want to sometimes hold you and just thank you. And it's a very fulfilling job, but it can also drain you. So we make sure that at least people go through the necessary training and certifications, and everybody is on track, and we do not like we know our bounds so that people do not outstep that as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was extensive, and I hope Ms. Agboboku feels answered. I hope I didn't butcher the name. All right. The last question here is for Auntie Akosua. And Auntie Akosua, Mina is asking that you suggested, in making the victims feel heard, you suggested that we ask the victim what they want to be done at that particular point in time. She's asking if you can clarify, because for her, she feels at that moment the victim is not having a clear mind to think. So what, suggestion would the person be able to make at that particular point in time? If you would add your voice to that, Auntie Akosua.
So, yes, it's true that at that moment, the person might not be. You let the person know that whatever the person is saying, you believe in her, and that you assure her the person what she wants to do. I am saying that because there has been cases whereby when you take the person to the police station, the person might not want to talk at all, just make up a story and let somebody suffer for no reason. So if the person doesn't even want to talk about it, you can suggest to the person that I think we need to go to the hospital first, take her medical report, then go to the police station. Or let's go to the police station to take a medical report and go to the hospital so that the doctor can testify that indeed you have been raped. If you don't do that, and most often if you don't do that and you impose on the victim that let's go to the police station and go and report, you get to the police station and it will surprise you to know that the victim would not talk about it. The victim will just keep quiet. So it is advisable that you agree with the victim, or you let the victim understand why it is important for her to go and report it. Then you leave it to her to make that decision, so that when you go, the person would talk freely about it. Other than that, you get to the station and the person will surprise you by not talking about the incident at all. Thank you.
Thank you too. I hope Mina is okay. It's so sad we are almost ending. It's been a very interesting conversation. The audience, if you have any feedback, general feedback you would want to put in the comment section, you can please do it as I ask the panelists for their final words, their parting words. Please, panelists, what do you want to say concerning all the conversations we've had? It could be one sentence, if possible. Her Ladyship, you probably start so that we go through that order.
Yes, survivors of sexual-based violence or gender-based violence have been through a lot. So as much as possible, we should not invalidate their experiences. And we should also not gaslight them. Create a safe and confidential environment for them to tell their stories. And there are resources available to enable them get help, legal, psychosocial, and other things. We equip ourselves with the knowledge to assist them to the appropriate places where they will be helped. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Akosua.
So I want to talk to, I'm sure that maybe some people have joined us that they've been abused and they are afraid to talk about it. So I know some of you may be afraid, but I just want you to know that you shouldn't worry about not being believed, or you shouldn't worry about not being blamed, or people just disgracing you or shaming you because you have been abused in one way or the other. And know that there are people there to protect you. Other people will believe you. People are willing to support you. So fear should never silence your voice. Every report that lands in a good hands will be treated with confidentiality, passion, and urgency. You should have that in mind. So please be bold, be brave, and speak out, because it will surprise you to know that being courageous today to speak out can protect not only you, but the others. Because when they see that, hey, this person has been able to speak out, then I can also speak out about an abuse or an incident that went wrong. So I think together we can all end gender-based violence, and together we can protect every abused person that is in in Ghana, if not in only our society, like where we find ourselves, but then in Ghana as general. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir Francis.
So, especially in this part of the world, one of the things that we underrate is our own mental health and how it can help us overcome fear and all of the things that prevent us from speaking up or addressing our own trauma and all of that. So it's very, very important that once you notice you are facing some of these challenges, to seek help from professionals. I know the Accra Psychiatric Hospital you can easily walk in. There are a lot of doctors who will speak to you. They will offer psychosocial support. I know the Orange Support Center is there. I know DOFSU has a resource center as well. And any youth group or women's group that you belong to, please find a safe space to seek for psychosocial support, because it's very, very important to be in a very good headspace to gather courage and speak up, to choose your own healing, because it is important. The world needs you. We all need you. So we also encourage you to choose your healing beyond anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. We need each other. Chris.
Don't be afraid to speak out. It's not a rush thing, by the way, but if you feel the need to speak out, don't be afraid to speak out, because you speaking out actually gives strength to the next person to speak out, and it also stops the perpetrator from doing what they did to you. And also, don't be afraid to use your platform, no matter how little it is. Just use it. Use your voice. Your voice is actually really important. You don't need to be UNFPA. You don't need to be DOFSU. You don't need to be any of the big centers. You can just start by yourself. Use social media. Use what you have to actually create. And also, if you're a creative person, you can also use your creative platform, tell stories, do it however. Someone will definitely, be impacted by it. That's it.
Thank you. Use your space and your channel. Thank you so much. Let me read some comments, I think 3, as Tracy Asamoah prepares to give us the vote of thanks. So Dinah, in the earlier part of the meeting, said that this session has been very therapeutic for her. That was good to know. Peggy is saying that it was an interesting and eye-opening discussion, and I am glad I joined. I have learned a lot on how to handle gender-based violence. And I believe from today, when I come across an issue like this, I would be able to assist and offer the best advice and guidance as discussed here. Thank you all for those amazing insights on GBV. Thank you to Peggy. Caroline is saying, very insightful discussion from experienced panelists. Thanks to the organizers. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, everybody. Tracy, please, we are ready for you. Hello,
Thank
Tracy.
you so much. I can hear you right from here. Thank you very much, Madeleine, for the amazing moderation. And to our guests, Her Ladyship, Miss Akosua, Miss Chris, and Mr. Francis, the only gentleman on this panel. I must say that it has been a very insightful panel, and in the spirit of thanksgiving, gratitude, and appreciation, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here today. You are the heroes of this particular session, most especially our distinguished panel members who have shared their insights with us, who have shared their personal experiences with us, who have made us understand that regardless of what is happening, there is a safer space and a support system for survivors in our world here. We'd also like to thank all volunteers on this side who have dedicated their time to make sure that this happens behind the scenes. Thank you so much. And generations of survivors will forever be grateful to you. Honestly, there's so much that we could talk about, but I want every single survivor here to remember that your silence is not your fault and neither is it your weakness. Your silence matters, and once you are ready to speak, there's a whole support system structure for you. If you don't pick anything from this session, you should know that every time you speak up a piece of your truth, you chip away the power of the guilt in you. Thank you all so much for being with us. You can book a free healing session with us with the QR code that has been displayed on your screen. You can quickly scan. You can also support this initiative in any way that is possible. Simply reach out to the team and we'll be glad to take the help from you. Thank you everyone for being with us and have a lovely evening. Back to you, Madeleine.
Thank you so much. I would like to believe on behalf of everybody who was here that if we want to reach out to panelists, we can do. Is there any way, probably through email, through a social media account? Can we please reach out to you, dear panelists, if there's a need for us to reach out to you?
Well,
Okay,
for
I
me,
guess
yes. For me, yes.
okay.
Easily accessible by on my social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you search for the Oko Armah or Oko Armah, you should be able to get me. Or once you get through the organizers, you will easily get me as well.
All right, thank you so much. I hope everybody is going to share bits of what they learned today on their socials. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, our panelists. And it's been an amazing evening moderating the session.
Hi, wait. I would like to add something. I would like to add something.
Tomorrow's meeting. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, I would like to add something. So I just came up with a new podcast that is called 16 Days, 16 Voices. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music or Apple Podcast. So it's a platform that gives it's a podcast that gives a platform to survivors to speak out. And we spoke to also some policymakers and everyone, in the circle of fighting gender-based violence. So if you're interested, you can go watch and please subscribe.
Yes, I just opened it on my Spotify. I can see it. Thank you. I'll definitely listen to the 4 episodes or 5. All right. Please, tomorrow, those of us in Kumasi, there's an event happening at Senyah. If you can pass by, please do want to pass by and help make the event.
Please, it's Kumasi was.
It has been changed. Oh, okay, Kumasi Wesley Girls. Sorry about that. Kumasi Wesley Girls. Kumasi Wesley Girls. All right then. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.